What is going on, folks? We are back from a break. Sorry we're not with you last week, but Halloween. Some folks have kids, some folks don't. Either way, people were either handing out candy or doing their thing. But we are back, ready to get back into all the NFL news, hot takes, and predictions for Week 10 of the NFL. As always, Old Man Logan 76, and with me is Bob and Sturm. Gentlemen, how are we doing on this evening?
Good, man, doing good. Ready to talk some football.
Hell yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready for football. It's been a great week to be a Raiders fan. Love it.
That's right. That's right. Definitely some news coming out of definitely some big news coming out of Vegas. So let's start this off, and we're not, as you know, we kind of changed the format of the show. We're not going over each game from last week. If you follow the NFL, you know what happened. We will be covering some of the top headlines that have happened over the past week, but we do like to give ourselves an opportunity to talk about our teams, how they performed last week, some of the big news, and what's been going on. So, Sturman, we're going to give you the floor because I think with what happened with your squad was the talk of every sports outlet. I mean, ESPN, Fox News, Colin Cowherd, Skip Bayless to Stephen A. Smith, they were all talking about the Raiders. So, man, fill everybody in. What the fuck is going on in Las Vegas?
Well, Josh McDaniels got fired. The offensive coordinator got fired. The general manager got fired. And Jimmy G got benched. All in the same week, if you can believe it. It was awesome. It was amazing.
And now, are these all things that, as the season has gone on, I mean, I'm sure you felt a lot of optimism going into the season, but as we are 10 weeks in, you had to be at a point where, this is just not working.
Yeah, it wasn't working. And I did have optimism, but I was reminded that Josh McDaniels lasted less than 2 seasons in Denver. He fucking pulled the rug out from the Colts when they were going to make him the head coach. And so he had this history to him. And then the first season with the Raiders, they blew 5 double-digit leads in the first season. They were 6-11. If they'd managed to hold on to those games, they would have been 11-6. They would have been in the playoffs last year. And, they had such embarrassing losses. They lost, I mean, everyone knows they lost to Jeff Saturday in his first fucking game as a head coach in the history of his life.
I know, Jeff Saturday.
They lost to, what's his face? The dude who's in Tampa Bay now, when he signed with the Rams like 2 days before, and he came back from double-digit leads. That quarterback, Baker Mayfield. It's just totally embarrassing losses. Then they just lost to Tyson Bagent in his first ever start against the Bears. So it's just been shit. And one of the things, like, you see Josh McDaniels on the sidelines, he looked like nervous and terrified the entire game. Like the guy that has no demeanor of confidence at all. So yeah, after 10 weeks, after 3 weeks, I was like, oh shit, this is not looking good. And it just kept getting worse. And I was messaging you guys on Discord in the game against the Lions. I was like, he has to go. He sucks. This is garbage. The defense played a hell of a game against the Lions and kept them in it. And they could have won, but the offense couldn't do anything. It was awful.
Yeah, man.
Now with your interim coach, and man, you guys, you put a hurting on my wife's Giants. Now, in fairness, we didn't get to really put out there for the public what our picks would have been, but I'm gonna be honest with Daniel Jones coming back. In New York, I probably would have picked the Giants. I thought there might have been some disarray going on with Oakland, new quarterback, uncertainty. Who is this? We obviously the interim coach. What was his name again?
Antonio Pierce. He's former linebacker for the Giants, and there's at least one of their Super Bowls, if not both.
Yep, Super Bowl winning player for the Giants. But again, there's just that uncertainty. But man, I mean,
he has this LL Cool J swag to him. Do you feel me?
He does. You're right. He does.
But that's got to be. I mean, that must have lit a fire under that team's ass, the way they performed against the Giants. I mean, I think it was 7 or 8 sacks. Defensively, they just smothered the Giants the entire game. Max Crosby put on a show.
Yeah.
So that's got to be something about Josh McDaniels that the players were like, thank God this fucking dude is out of here and we can actually go back to having fun.
They scored 30
it was
fucking points. When's the last time you've done that?
It's been a long time.
They probably just hated the guy and wanted him out there, so they were losing because.
It reminds me of you remember at the end of Return of the Jedi when everybody's celebrating and they pull down the statue of the Emperor and everything. That's what happened when Josh McDaniels got fired. It was a big party.
The GM was gone too.
I don't think the players cared so much about the GM, but I just think that Josh McDaniels just can't. He's just not a head coach. He just isn't.
But still, the fact that you're GM, that's still a very prestigious, high at the top thing, you know.
Yeah, they're both
trickles down as well.
Right, and they're both connected. They're both from the Patriots, and I think they just was like. They were connected by the hip, so they had to go, both of them. They were a package deal.
It was like a three-way, like, you know, you can tell it was like a buddy, like who you know kind of deal, not who was the best. So,
and he wasn't playing well. Like he led the league in interceptions, and and they just were like, all right, he doesn't play well, and so they benched him, and I think for good cause. So. It was huge news, and I think that because of the injection of life into the team, it showed what they can do. Like Josh Jacobs almost had 100 yards. He actually had 100 yards, and then he lost like 2 yards on his last carry. He ended up with 98 yards, but he had his first 100-yard game of the season. And you remember, he's the league leading rusher from last year.
He is. He is. I do like what Blackfire said in chat. He goes, Brady made careers for so many mediocre coaches. And you know what? I want to kind of piggyback on that for a minute because I wholeheartedly agree. And we'll talk about this later because I love trashing the Patriots. I think we're starting to really see what the Patriots are without Tom Brady. And then when you look at Josh McDaniels, there was a story, and I mentioned this before we went on air, going around that the interim coach was trying to fire up the team and made a comment about how when I was playing with the Giants, we had a culture of we thought we could beat anybody, including the Patriots that had gone undefeated that year, and they faced them in the Super Bowl and beat them. And I think he said something to the effect of, it doesn't matter how dominant a team is, you can still find a way to beat them, this, that. And again, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the whole scoop. But apparently Josh McDaniels didn't like what he said about his Patriots. And word of that got to the owner of the Raiders, and he went, yep, that's it. You're out. You're out of here. So I think that had something to do with it. That's a story that's been making the airways. But I mean, again, I think Josh McDaniels is just incredibly arrogant. Like you said, Sturm, he lasted less than 2 years in Denver, and here's his stint with the Raiders. And you know where he's going to end up going? Back to the Patriots.
To New England.
Yep. That's what I was thinking too.
Only if Belichick lasts this season, which is another thing we can talk about. Because if he may not make it. But there is one other story.
There's a rumor about them that I want to talk about later as well.
There's one other story to finish up the Raiders. I mean, they had the best game of the week. We don't have to talk about it. And the Giants are terrible, really terrible. So we'll see what they can do this week against the Jets. But I read this today, and I don't know how other teams do it, but apparently when the Raiders played under Josh McDaniels, nobody from the practice squad was allowed on the sidelines. They were like, they had to watch the game from like a box in the stadium or something. And I don't know. Yeah, I was like, is that normal, or is that a Josh McDaniels thing? Like, why wouldn't you let the practice squad players on the sidelines? Like, who cares? Like, why on earth would you separate those guys out and treat them like assholes? And so, like, That was like a big deal. Like, and I get it. I was like, yeah, I can see why the players would love that. Like, why would you not want those guys there? Like, maybe they have a good idea. Like, what if one of the guys is like, hey, you guys should run this play? I don't know. Who knows? Like, why
I feel like
segregate them?
that's that bullshit Bill Belichick mentality
Exactly.
of you want to be on the sideline with us, you got to earn it.
Exactly. I was thinking the same
You
thing.
got to go the Patriot way.
Yep. I think that's what it is. I bet you learned that from him.
Yeah, I just couldn't believe that they would treat the practice squad players as second-class citizens like that. It blew my mind. I don't know if anybody else does it because I've never really heard that before. Maybe other teams do it. I don't know. To me, it seems like crazy madness, but they don't do it anymore, and the players love it. So,
but it's a good point you said that, Logan. And the younger generation are completely different than what I was or you guys were. I don't think you can coach a football team like that anymore. You can't be just like a fucking disciplinarian bitch, or like just only bitching at people. You got to be a player's coach. You know what I mean? Where
for the Giants, towards the end, Tom Coughlin was getting rather unpopular just because he was such a fucking hard ass.
Yeah, and I mean you got to hold people accountable to a certain point, but still you got to remember they're still adults. There's no need to treat them like kids and shit. So I think that kind of coaching did work at one point, but the world's just different now. And you got to remember the NFL is like all the old people are out. It's all new. It's all new generation players. I mean,
I think
all the best coaches are young guys. They're in their 30s and 40s. So yeah, you're right.
I think you're dealing with a lot more egos and a lot more divas in the NFL than we were back in the day.
Exactly, and that's how kind of, no offense, the younger. I'm sure no one's watching our show that's even that old, but. That's kind of how they are these days,
But, for the Raiders, I did notice, I mean, you guys really pounded the rock with Josh Jacobs. I mean, he didn't break 100, but, I mean, you were utilizing him a lot more. I thought O'Connell did what he had to do to just kind of keep the pressure on. I mean, he didn't throw any touchdowns, but he didn't throw any picks either.
But he also threw the ball downfield a number of times. Like, he took some 25, 30-yard shots, which we haven't seen that from Garoppolo. Jimmy G can't do it. Isn't doing it, can't do it for whatever reason. And so that,
Max Crosby could not be stopped. That was ridiculous.
I love Crosby. He's so good. God, he's so good. Like, the season he's having this year, he's second in the league in sacks. And if you watch a Raiders game, every play that guy is in on a tackle. It doesn't matter if the run is 10 yards downfield. He will chase the running back from the defensive line, from the backfield, chase him down and get into on the play. The guy's insane. He never stops.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they go from now. Or could this be a Jeff Saturday situation? Former player, everyone's pumped up, and then I want to be excited for you at the same time.
I think this gentleman has some coaching experience, and I think the players are going to rally behind him. The problem is, in a loaded AFC, is it enough to potentially be a wild card? And I just at 4 and 5, they're already in a hole. And in that division, where you still got, the Chargers are still a team to be reckoned with. Obviously, you still got the Chiefs. Baltimore's taking names. Joe Burrow looks like he's back in action and back to full strength.
Miami Bills. Yeah, it's pretty loaded.
Well, we're going to talk about Miami. I'm starting to see some kinks and what everybody was saying used to be the fastest show on turf. Because
I can't wait. We'll be talking about it soon.
But so anything else you want to add about the?
No, I was super excited, and I'm glad that they finally played a game, I think, up to what they can do. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds. If they have the Jets this week, that's winnable. Then they go to Dolphins and Chiefs before the bye. Those are going to be very hard games. And if they manage to sneak out 2 wins and end up 7-5, anything's possible. But hey, one game at a time. We'll see what happens.
I think the Jets game. No, we'll get to that when we do our picks. But I think the Jets game is very winnable. Very winnable.
No matter what. No matter what, though, you guys were at an all-time low for a franchise.
Oh,
so
God.
Even if you don't make the playoffs, this is better making this in the mid-season than waiting and going through an entire season with them and just having a horrible season and then making changes. You know what I mean? At least,
Yeah, I
at least
agree.
you guys
I
can
agree.
start. There was no more lower you could go. So at least now you guys can start working on shit ASAP, and then maybe next season you start over with a clean slate. You might make a run against everyone because I mean the Broncos beat the Chiefs. Offensively,
Yeah.
the Chiefs aren't doing great. So and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But,
Yeah. We'll see. Anything's possible. You know, we made it. We made the playoffs with Rich Bisaccia as our interim coach 2 years ago. So maybe we can. I don't know. It's gonna take a little bit of luck for sure. Get some really good outcomes. But
Also,
yeah, we're
what
at least
up
in the
with you
hunt.
guys getting like pretty decent coaches? Maybe not, 10, 11 win coaches, but you guys will get like 8 or 9 wins, and then get rid of them after like 3 years. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but you guys had, was it Tom Cable? Was that his name?
Oh God, yeah, We've had the most coaches. Like, I don't know, there was some stat like since 2003 or something. We've got the number one number of coaches in the league or something. We've definitely cycled through coaches. There's
You didn't
no
like
question.
Tom Cable? Because I remember like you guys missed the
Yeah,
playoffs.
no.
You guys missed the playoffs, but there was one where you like it was some dominant thing. Like you guys beat everyone in the division, but it was something with
Tom Cable was all right. Jack Del Rio was a good coach, and I think they probably cut the cord on Jack Del Rio too soon.
I like Jack Del Rio. I thought he was all right.
Yeah, like
yeah. Rich Gruden had the issues with the emails, which is still being hashed out, and and then of course Josh, and then we had some other bad coaches, but Mark Davis has said that he is basically it's Antonio Pierce's job to lose, which I think is a good thing because
it should be.
If he goes through and we have an awesome season, he makes the playoffs, he should get the job. But
I agree.
If he doesn't,
I agree.
Yeah, if he doesn't, then let's open it up and see who's out there. Maybe we can find somebody else. A lot of talk about Harbaugh. I don't think I want Harbaugh as the head coach, frankly. But
which one? The one from college or from the Ravens?
Yeah, Michigan. Jim Harbaugh.
I mean, I don't know
because he might be. Well, he coached the Niners. He took the Niners to the Super Bowl, but man, he's been having all kinds of problems at Michigan with all this sign stealing bullshit.
That's such a crock. Like, show me a fucking college team that doesn't do that shit. They just took it to a different level.
Well, yeah, and that's why it's the problem because they sent their guy like with apparently at one point he was dressed up as a staffer for an opposing team and on their sideline. I don't.
Yeah, no, they had people buy tickets in the stands with cameras.
Yeah,
just taking non-stop photos. And okay, did they take it a little far? Yeah, but I'm not gonna crucify Michigan for doing something and being smarter about a tactic that almost every other team in the Big Ten was doing. I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm not doing it.
What did you say when Belichick and the Patriots were doing it? Were you
Well, that's the thing. In college, like, correct me if I'm wrong. In college, it's not against the rules. They're just under investigation on how they did it, like impersonating a staff member. Like, that's different.
You can steal the sign. Like, if you can figure out the signs, you can see them. You can't take pictures and record and all that stuff, which is what they were doing. And I don't. This whole staffer on the other team's sideline's crazy. That's way over the top. If that's true, I don't know.
Now in the NFL, when Bill Belichick did it, yeah, of course I bitched. They were the Patriots and they were a dynasty, and I was sick of it. So yeah, I bitched. Absolutely.
Marshall Faulk says to this day when they were recording practices, and if they hadn't recorded the practices, they would never lost that Super Bowl. So, I don't know. Rams Patriots. He's still bitter about it.
Wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me. So, Bob, you had an interesting game in the fatherland in Germany.
Yeah, man, it was pretty good to wake up to.
Yeah, I watched most of that game, and I gotta say I'm gonna start off with this hot take. Now, again, it's not taking anything away from Kansas City. They have the best coach, the best quarterback, the best tight end, a solid defense. They're playing amazing football. Their record speaks for it. They're in the driver's seat for home field advantage, hopefully throughout the playoffs, depending on what happens with maybe Baltimore. But again, we're talking about the Miami Dolphins, and I know they drubbed Denver and put up 70 points, and they're putting up all these historic numbers. But let's just do a quick recap of who they've beaten. Okay, they've beaten the Chargers, they've beaten the Patriots, they've beaten the Broncos, they got drubbed by the Bills, they beat the Giants, they beat the Panthers, they got drugged by the Eagles, they beat the Patriots, and they got beat by the Chiefs. So we're talking about a team that a lot of people were putting on a pedestal, but can't beat teams over 500. So I kind of just want everybody to pump the brakes. Even with their two top corners that came back from this game, came back for this game, they still didn't play well. Kansas City's defense bottled up Tua very well. Tyreek Hill had 8 receptions, targeted 10 times, only had 62 yards, the longest of 19.
Shit all fucking week. No one was even saying anything back to him. And every fucking day there was a new article about something new he was saying. He had a secret touchdown celebration, and I mean, that was like the most popular one. But there's a bunch of other shit that he was saying too. And go ahead. I just wanted to say that.
I'm going to give you the floor here in a second, but I'm just saying, I think people should I think the Miami Dolphins are a shiny car with no durability, and their schedule is going to get a lot harder. The weather is going to start getting a lot colder, and we're really going to see the true colors of this team. And yeah, but I'm not taking anything away from the Chiefs. They played a great game in a different country in Europe. So, and they're still winning at 7-2. So, Bob, take it away. What did you see?
Yeah, they also they went like the day before, like 2 days early, and then like the Miami Dolphins went like a week early, and yeah, it was not good for them. But yeah, man, just like you said, you're right, and we said this a week or last time we were on. They haven't beat anybody good, so they can beat up on bad teams, and the Chiefs just solidified that. And I agree with you, everything you said. Because the Chiefs' offense is playing kind of scary, even as a friend, even as a fan. Some players have acknowledged it. Everyone can tell the offense is still struggling. They're winning, but man, if they didn't have this defense, man, Chargers or somebody might win the division, because this is playing pretty bad. And maybe with Mahomes, he would find a way. I don't know. With him, I just feel like whatever the situation is, he tries to adjust for it. So who knows what the fact is, but the defense is playing lights out. There's a stat that the Kansas City Chiefs defense has allowed 3 yards per play on third down this season, the lowest in the NFL since the historic 2000 Baltimore Ravens defense. So this defense,
that's a good stat to have.
This defense is insane, man, and I still can't really believe it. I was fucking going on about McDuffie in the offseason. Everyone's like, he's nothing, blah, 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 blah. I still say every week. I'm like, what do you guys think about McDuffie? It's still excuses. But he's like, I think they're rated maybe top 3 at least cornerback in the league. And where I'm getting with this is they shut down Tyreek Hill. He was talking shit. He had 64 yards. And the play that won the game for the Chiefs, because the Chiefs were non-existent in the second half. They scored all their points in the first half and did not score again. It was pretty embarrassing in the second half. But with that being said, Tua throws it to fucking Tyreek Hill, and McDuffie strips it, laterals it to the safety.
Oh, that lateral play was brilliant. Lateral play was
took it to the house,
brilliant.
dude, and it was on Tyreek Hill. What's even more significant about that is the picks that we used to trade Tyreek Hill, we used for McDuffie in the first round. So it's just kind of ironic, And everyone, and all week, the thing is, should they have? Do the Chiefs regret because our wide receivers are struggling? Do we regret trading Tyreek Hill? Blah blah blah. He's talking shit, and the thing we traded for you won the game for us. So I just thought that was pretty neat. I don't really have much else to say except that the defense is doing amazing. Offense is worrying me. It really is. I think it really is the lack of wide receiver doing things. But, they scored 14 points. That's not what the Chiefs did with Eric Bieniemy. I think it might also be a Matt Canada situation with Matt Nagy. Is it the Matts? Is it something to do with when their name's Matt?
No, I don't think so, because if you really look at the stats and look at what Patrick Mahomes did in that game, he did a very, very good job of not focusing on anybody in particular, and he did an amazing job at ball distribution.
Yeah, I don't know
I
how
mean,
many.
not one target had more than 3 catches that game, and he targeted
11.
11 different receivers.
Yep, looks like. And
So
with that being said, also Travis Kelce had 14 yards on 3 catches.
because Taylor Swift wasn't in the stadium.
Dude, every time she's there, he fucking goes off. So I need this bitch to start showing up more often.
It's tough when you're on tour.
But speaking of Travis Kelce, I just want to say this and we can move on. Just with his 14-yard game, he's now the all-time leading receiver in Chiefs history, which was held by Tony Gonzalez at 10,940, and he got 1 more yard than that. So
he passed Gonzalez. That's crazy.
So that's a big deal. It's not Gonzalez's total. That's just how much he had with the Chiefs.
Right.
So I think total's only number 5 or something. There's quite a few ahead of him still, Antonio Gates and stuff. So he has a while to get up to that point, but still a pretty good feat for him, and I'm proud of him. But besides that, that's about it. Sturm, do you have anything to say about the game?
I didn't get to see this game, but I do think that the Chiefs have some question marks with their offense. Mm-hmm. And I think that realistically, you're talking about 2 or 3 plays here that could have really swung this game. And one of them is the Tyreek Hill fumble and then return for a touchdown, because they were going in to score before the half. If they score and make it 14-7, it's a completely different ball game. And even with the fact they were down 21-0 at the half, I mean, they were at the goal line or pretty darn close, I think, at the end of the game to tie it up. And I think did Tua muff a snap or something, yep, and 4th down.
Yeah, I mean, I was nervous, man. I was sweating bullets.
Yeah.
I was, yeah.
So I'm not going to shit all over the Dolphins. I know they haven't beat a great team yet, but I mean, they were right there in this game. Being right there and actually doing the job are 2 different things. I get it, but I don't think all is wrong with the Dolphins, and I don't think all is right with the Chiefs. So I think both these teams are flawed, and I wonder, what's the difference in the Chiefs' offense this year? They don't have Eric Bieniemy running the show on an offensive coordinator. Is that part of the problem? I don't know. And he used to get shit on like, oh, he's nobody, he's nothing. But the offense is different this year.
And I thought they were grooming him to take over for Andy Reid someday. I thought they were just going to stay how it was because everything was going great, and he would take over. Because that would make the most sense to me. Someone's got to take over for Reid when he leaves. And I was kind of surprised, and I wondered if that was why, like, maybe he was turning down head coach jobs for like 3 years. It was the headline that no one's.
Oh, I don't think he was turning them down. I don't think people were hiring him, because I think everybody thought that this was Andy Reid's show and Eric Bieniemy was just kind of sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah, but we're definitely missing him. I don't have anything against Matt Nagy. Before Matt Nagy left, it was Alex Smith's best year that he ever had, and he was going off that year, and it was underneath Matt Nagy. So I mean, I think he's okay, but there's just some play calling. Like it was 3rd and 1. 3rd and 1. You have Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco was going off either on that drive or had been. Like, Pacheco can pick up that 1 yard. Just give it to him. He'll give it for you.
Yeah.
And they chose to throw it. Okay, and this is another thing that Mahomes has been doing all year. It's 3rd and 1. Several times on 3rd and 1, specifically. He will bomb it like 50 yards down the... What are you doing? Just get the 1 yard. And then go do that on the 1st down or something. Like, I don't know if they think that they're going to, like, mess with their mind and catch them off guard. That's not going to happen. So I don't know what's going on with that, but he continues to like make strange plays. He puts them on the dime too, and people drop him. But why are you throwing it long when it's 3rd and 1? Either fucking run it or throw it short.
Kansas City really is hurting in the wide receiver department.
They really are.
They need someone to step up. Their number one receiver had 34, or the top receiver had 34 yards. Noah Gray. Is he even a receiver? Is he a tight end? I don't even know. But that was their
he's a
number
tight
one
end.
receiver
Noah Gray
last week.
is? Was he? Yeah.
He had 34 yards. He was the leading receiver against the Dolphins.
Yeah, he's a tight end. That's crazy. Sky Moore did
That's why I said Mahomes did a masterful job with ball distribution because nobody had over 40 yards.
Yeah,
That's
that's one way to look at it. He only had 180 yards, 185 yards himself. I mean, their offense was not lighting it up. They need to pick it up if they want to compete. And the Ravens are looking amazing right now. I mean, they're the team to beat in the AFC, if you ask me.
Is it true that George Pickens isn't happy in Pittsburgh, Logan?
Well, you brought up Matt Nagy, so I thought that was a really good time to transition to a different gentleman named Matt, such as Matt Canada. And again, in all fairness, if we'd done the show last week and did our picks, I would have picked Tennessee because I have zero faith in the offensive coordinator for Pittsburgh, Matt Canada. I have no faith in Pittsburgh offense as a whole. But then the game started, and I noticed that Matt Canada was on the sidelines, and I went, oh, so great. Now he's going to get a front row seat to seeing this abomination of an offense that he runs. And the game started out a lot different than I expected. Pittsburgh, for the first time this season, marched right down the field the first possession and scored a touchdown. And I was just like, okay, all right, this works. And then we reverted back to typical Pittsburgh Steeler football, which is 3 and out, 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 field goal. Then it was halftime. Then it was 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, field goal. But I will say, as always, the Steeler defense came to play. Statistically, they're not ranked very well, but they're definitely one of those defenses that bends and doesn't break. It has that ability to make that one big play to really change the game around. And amazingly enough, an interesting statistic is that in the fourth quarter, Kenny Pickett almost has a perfect QBR. In the fourth quarter, that kid plays football.
For the whole season or just for that game?
No, throughout the entire season. Kenny Pickett is one of the highest QBRs of any quarterback in the league in the fourth quarter.
Hey, can I spit before you move on? I just want to spit something about Kenny Pickett real quick that I saved for you. Did you know that Kenny Pickett has 13 total career touchdown passes, and so does C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I heard this on ESPN, Bob. Thank you. It's a lovely stat I heard the other day. Yeah, I know. It also helps when a rookie throws 5 touchdowns in a game and lights up the opposing team.
Yeah, I like Stroud.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just wanted to put that out there.
So, Deontay Johnson had a great game, 7 receptions, 90 yards. Yes, there's something going on when George Pickens, Mike Tomlin did address this in the Tuesday press conference. He said, he loves players like that want to be contributors, that get frustrated because they want the ball and they want to make a difference. But again, we're talking about Mike Tomlin that's gone through and dealt with receivers like Plaxico Burress, Antonio Brown, Martavis Bryant. I mean, we're talking about a coach that's Santonio Holmes. We're talking about a coach that's not a stranger to dealing with divas. And
Le'Veon Bell was a diva too, even though he wasn't a receiver.
And I like what he said. Well, I want guys that are like that.
And
now,
what happened to all of them? They walked.
But again, this is George Pickens' second year. He signed for 4. So
listen to this. What do you think about next year? We don't sign CJ and we trade you guys for him.
For George Pickens?
Yeah. I'm hoping it happens. If he doesn't,
trade who? Trade who for George Pickens?
Just trade. I'm sure
anybody,
probably a first and second or whatever for Pickens, because the Chiefs can't hit on a wide receiver at all. They've tried 2 or 3 years in a row and they fail every time. Why not trade a first rounder for a guaranteed and something else. I'd do a first and a second all day for Pickens. Anyways, I've been thinking that's my Bonstradamus prediction. That's going to happen next year. Continue.
So I did like what Pittsburgh did in the run game for once. We actually ran for 166 yards. Carries were split pretty well between Warren and Najee Harris. Warren had 88, Najee Harris had 69 yards. Again, Kenny Pickett played very well in the fourth quarter. We got a crucial interception off Will Levis in the fourth that sealed the game. So, how the Steelers are 5-3 right now? I'm like, it's a head to me. It's a head scratcher. I don't know how we're 5-3. I really don't.
It's awesome though. I mean, as a fan,
yeah, it's awesome. But I mean, we still got to contend with Cincinnati. We still got to play Baltimore one more time. Believe it or not, one of those 5 wins is actually against Baltimore. But again, that's division games. Those are a lot different. Pittsburgh has a pretty favorable matchup in Pittsburgh this week against the floundering Green Bay Packers. So we'll definitely go over that. But those are our games. So let's go over some of the top headlines. Let's get on with the news. So apparently Carson Wentz has come back out of obscurity. The Rams signed him. What do you guys make of this? Is this just secure? Like, why?
I mean, if you look at this guy wrong, he breaks a leg. You know what I mean? If you breathe on him, he gets injured. So I don't know why people keep signing him. Yes, for 2 weeks, this man was good, and he was really awesome and did some awesome stuff for like 3 or 4 weeks. After that, he's been nothing but injury plagued and is not good. I don't know why people keep doing this, but
well, first of all, I don't know what Matthew Stafford's status is. I assume he's out for a while still. I'm not sure why, but I watched a little bit. What does he have?
Was it a rib injury?
I don't know, but if you saw Brett Rippon play against the Packers last week, you'll know why they were looking for a quarterback. He was awful. He was terrible. And Carson Wentz, like, I always will wonder about the demise of Carson Wentz because the year the Eagles won that Super Bowl, he started the majority of that season, and he broke his back, I think, at the end of the year. He was going to be the MVP of the league that year. He's never been the same since. I don't know if it was the injury or whatever it was, but he's he went to Indianapolis, Washington, and just washed out everywhere he's been ever since. So I mean, maybe they're just. I mean, at this point, like anything's better than Brett Rippon because he was terrible.
Yeah.
Just terrible.
Yeah. So they're gonna give him a shot. I mean, it's when I saw that headline, I went, whoa, okay, Carson Wentz is back. So next big headline, we've got the last night's game before the game started, Chargers and Jets. We saw Aaron Rodgers out there on the field tossing the pigskin. And Rodgers hints at return timeline. Few fortnights. He must have picked up that word while he was doing his, darkness retreat.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Guys, the big question here is Zach Wilson is absolutely dreadful. Per Football Focus, the New York Jets have the worst offensive line in the league in football. They're 4-4 in a loaded AFC. Do you want to rush Aaron Rodgers back to a sinking ship? I mean, what's the best they could possibly do? A wild card?
I don't know what the odds are of them like making it. I don't know how much they have to win out.
Well,
I don't know, man.
So 2 fortnights is about 4 weeks, right? Let's assume that he's even, being honest. I mean, that would have to be like a world record recovery time for an Achilles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's just assume he can do it. Assume that he will be 100% or close enough in 4 weeks.
Like the dude's got a mutant fucking healing factor.
Yeah. And it's going to all depend on what the Jets' record is in 4 weeks. And I haven't looked at I know they play the Raiders this week, so I'm hoping they'll be 4-5. But if they're 4-8, and no, then it's not even worth it. if they're what 6-6, yeah, maybe because you know what, lightning in a bottle. You get in the playoffs, you get in the tournament, and God knows what might happen. This is football,
what
you know.
games
It's
do they have?
one and done.
What's their schedule look like? Can you guys
Let's
pull
look.
it up
Let's
real
look.
quick?
I don't think their schedule is very forgiving, to be honest. But I mean, we're I mean, the man got hurt on the first play.
So next 4 games: Raiders, Bills, Dolphins, Falcons. So, but I think
None of
best
those are
case
easy.
out of that,
None of those are
no,
easy.
but best case would be 2-2, right? I don't see them doing any better than that. And even 2-2 is a stretch.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, if they get lucky, I mean, they beat the Bills once, right? They also beat the Eagles, so they can beat people if the ball bounces their way.
But again, that is really depending on if the Jets defense does what the Jets defense is capable of. Like last night, they were a non-factor.
That really surprised me too. I'm really surprised at how they sacked Herbert quite a bit. I did see that, but
They did, but you are not going to win any football games when your quarterback coughs up four lost fumbles in 2 weeks.
yeah, it's Zach Wilson. I mean, this team it's sad to watch them play because with Aaron Rodgers, this team's probably something like 7-2.
And I'm sorry, that offensive line could not block the sun in an enclosed building. I mean, they're just that bad.
Oh,
That line is just they. And you want to put close to 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers back behind that line, just coming off that kind of injury?
yeah,
I mean,
but sometimes the line is terrible because the quarterback's terrible, right? He holds on to the ball too long. He's got happy feet in the pocket, all that kind of shit.
It also has to do with like your confidence in your quarterback. Like if you can't get behind him and you know it doesn't matter, like I don't know. I just feel like you'll fight a little harder for someone that you know can get the job done.
A guy like Rodgers is going to get that ball out way quicker with accuracy and rhythm and all that kind of stuff and get to keep the defense on its heels far more than Zach Wilson can.
Jack in the chat goes, the offense turned the ball over too much. The Jets would be better off punting on first down and playing defense all day.
yeah, and waiting for their defense to score.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, another headline that popped up with the Jets are sticking with QB Wilson. I mean, what other choice do they really have?
Over who?
Exactly. I mean, who else do they have?
Tim Boyle.
Yeah, Tim Boyle. All right, yeah.
Well, the Giants have Tommy DeVito, so you know.
Dude, what do you guys think about Sam Howell? He made a comeback. It was his first start for Minnesota, man.
Sam Howell, I think.
No, wait. Who are you talking? Sam Howell's on Commanders.
Yeah, Commanders.
No, they traded for him, guys. That was his first game.
No, Josh Dobbs.
Josh Dobbs. Shit.
Talking about Minnesota, Joshua Dobbs.
I keep getting those two mixed together. That's what I meant, was Josh Dobbs. He had a comeback win, and
you know what? Good for him. Have
you seen
to
this
be perfectly honest,
like
as a Steelers fan, the Steelers drafted Joshua Dobbs, and we kept putting him behind garbage-ass Mason Rudolph, and I never understood it. We finally released him. He signed with I think he bounced around for a little bit, found a home in Arizona, played pretty well this season, and then goes to Minnesota, and then 72 hours later is constructing a comeback against the Falcons.
What blows my mind is
he didn't even practice once.
How old is
he didn't even get a practice in. Didn't even get a practice in.
How old is he? He looks like he's about 14.
He's been around 5-6 years, right, Logan?
Yeah, around there. Yep.
I've never heard of him until this year. That's crazy. So I thought that was pretty cool. I watched that game. It was really good. So good for that kid. Hopefully, you know what? I mean, he might be the future of that place.
He was drafted by Pittsburgh in 2017. So this would make this his seventh season, I think. Yeah, seventh.
Sturm, have you seen this kid? Like, he looks like a kid. Like you remind me of.
He does.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
with the shaved head, he's kind of got some big ears.
He's going to be one of those guys that's 70 years old, and he's still going to get carded for a beer at the store.
Well, hopefully, I like the
Uh,
Vikings, so I hope that he does well with them.
Well, yeah, and it's really a great story because he was supposed to be the backup, and then they cut Colt McCoy, and all of a sudden he was the starter. And everyone's like, "Oh, they're going to be terrible," and the Cardinals were terrible, but not because of him. I mean, they fought hard, and he played well. Gets traded, and boom, comes in. Now he's going to be the starter in Minnesota. They've won 4 straight, and they're knocking on the door with the Lions. They still have to play the Lions at least one more time, maybe even twice.
Oh.
I'm not sure.
I think one more time. I think.
And so, and the rest of that NFC North is dog shit. So they got a chance to at least make the playoffs, if not win the division. No, they got the Lions twice yet. They got the Lions 2 more times.
Shit. Okay.
Oh, isn't he an aerospace engineer?
Yes, he's incredibly intelligent young man. He really is.
Huh.
I always liked him. When we released him, I was like, man, really?
Interesting. Yeah, that's
Yep.
crazy. Jack says he has alopecia. That's why he looks like that.
Yeah, he can't grow hair in his head, or he doesn't have eyebrows either.
Okay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He just looked really young.
Yeah.
More of a compliment than anything. Sorry, I just want to talk about that because I thought it was pretty cool this week that he did that.
Yeah, it is a good story.
No,
So,
it was a great story. And
he's going to be the starter moving forward for the rest of the year. So,
and they interviewed him after that win in Minnesota, and he credited Mike Tomlin to his attitude and walking into any situation. So
that's crazy. Yeah, it's like his 5th team, I think they said. That he's been
and that goes back to the comment earlier from Bones, like, why are they 5-3? It's Mike Tomlin's the reason that Steelers team is 5-3. It's all about coaching. And if you ever thought coaching doesn't matter, just look at the difference between the Raiders from week to week. I mean, coaching matters. It really does.
it does. So in other news, speaking of non-dysfunction, now we're going to talk about some dysfunction. The Dallas Cowboys. They have reinstated wide receiver Martavis Bryant. Now here's another diva wideout. Former player drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers who was still on his rookie deal, who had all the talent in the world. Good size. I think he was like 6'3", but could not stop smoking the weed. And he finally got suspended big time by Roger Goodell. He went to the Canadian Football League, played for a little while. Roger Goodell reinstated him. And who signed him? None other than desperate, I have to win, Jerry Jones. So I'd say the Cowboys came pretty damn close to winning that game against Philly. I don't know if this is going to be that one piece that really puts it together, but, I mean, it's the Cowboys. They take chances like this, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. So
he's just going to the practice squad for now, right?
I believe let me check.
I see it says just the practice squad. So who knows if he'll ever get off the practice squad. I mean, the Cowboys, their problem's not wide receiver, is it? I don't think.
I mean, Lamb does a lot of the heavy lifting. Their defense is obviously elite, but again, I think the Cowboys' problem is Dak Prescott just can't win the big moments.
I mean, it looks like he's just trying so hard every game. Like I think he's trying his best. He does. Like I don't know.
See him go to the sideline. The dude's sucking wind. He's sweating his ass off.
I feel bad for him, but yeah, I just don't know if he's the guy.
I don't know. This game also, this is a lot like the Dolphins-Chiefs game because at the 2-point conversion, like Dak just barely stepped out of bounds, right? Otherwise, he would have had the 2. If he gets the 2, that's easy field goal for them to make at the end of the game. They don't obviously have to go for the touchdown, and they're just short. They have all those negative plays, which, coaching, whatever you want to call it. Maybe McCarthy is the biggest problem with this team. I don't know, but they were there. They could have won that game. They still have one more against the Eagles. So I'm not. The Cowboys are definitely going to be in the playoffs. There's no question about that. And once you get in, we'll see what happens.
It's really hard to put your finger on. It's really hard to put your finger on what is the problem though, because on paper, everything looks, they have all the check marks, man. I mean, Tony Pollard's pretty good.
But again, it's those big game moments. I mean, again, at the end of that Philly game, yeah, it would have been a pretty long touchdown throw, but again, it's another moment for you to shut the critics up that you can't fold in the big moments. Yeah. And what happened?
They fold.
They lost.
Yeah. Well, here's the next 4 games. So you tell me what's going to happen. Giants, Panthers, Commanders, Seahawks.
They potentially could win all 4 of those.
Yeah, I think worst case 3-1, but I have winning all 4.
I would probably
my tinfoil hat's tingling, and I'm thinking that the Seahawks beat him.
I don't know, man. I mean,
we can talk a little bit about that game because I was, it's funny. I was thinking to myself about the Seahawks early before the game against the Ravens, and I was like, I've always kind of sold Pete Carroll short as a coach, but this job he's doing with Geno Smith and how good they are, it really deserves a lot of credit. And then they go and fucking lose 37-3, and I was like, oh my god, maybe I pumped the brakes. I don't know what the hell's going on. I didn't really catch much of that game, but except they just got destroyed.
Well, I think the romance with Geno Smith is now over. I think Geno Smith is the quarterback that we all thought he was. And I still think they're a well-coached team. Pete Carroll knows what he's doing. But, man, at this point, I think Baltimore's for real. That team is scary. That team is very scary right now. They are explosive. They're disciplined. They play good defense. They are absolutely deadly at home. So it's
Who have they played? I feel like that's another one of those they haven't played anything great. I haven't looked at what they've done, but
Baltimore?
Yeah.
They beat the Bengals, they beat the Browns, they beat
Did they really?
A lot. They kicked the shit out of the Lions, don't forget that, 38-6.
No, okay.
And
I'll be quiet. I mean,
I was about to look it up, but I was about to be Bob. You're about to eat your words here in a second because Baltimore's their resume this season's not bad.
They beat the Seahawks.
And their opening game was against the Texans, which at the time was everyone's like, oh yeah, of course they're going to kill the Texans, but the Texans are no slouch now either.
No, they're not.
And
they're not. That's an interesting matchup this week too.
And they're in one of the.
And that was the.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say that was probably the best game of the week, that Texans-Buccaneers game. Holy cow.
Good Lord. Yeah. That kid is just lighting it up.
CJ Stroud.
Yep. Throwing with the savvy of an old vet. Like, man, he is just launched. And, man, this last game, he really showed some arm strength. Like, he was moving that ball downfield.
Yeah, they got the ball back with needing a touchdown to win the game with less than a minute left. They did have 2 timeouts, but he was just dropping dimes down the field, man. And it was just amazing. Just poise, accuracy, and like an old pro. It was crazy. It was a great game.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
All right, gentlemen. That's pretty much wraps up all the top headlines I got. Is there anything else you guys heard? Any rumors, anything? I mean, minus the tinfoil hat shit that you might want to bring up before we go into this week's picks?
It's a rumor that I didn't come up with. The one that I sent you guys the other day. Can we talk about it? Or do you think it's not?
Sure. I don't remember what it is, but go ahead.
What was that?
I have to pull it up.
I'm afraid.
I'm sorry. It had something to do with the Patriots. Okay, so this is just
Bill Belichick and Vrabel.
Yeah, this is just a rumor I saw. I don't know. It could be completely bullshit, but it's still something to. If we reported it and I was right, you guys will never remember.
No, I heard this story. I did.
Okay, so it says, barring a miracle turnaround, it seems increasingly likely that this will be Bill Belichick's last season as the Patriots head coach, and he might even be fired mid-season if the team goes to 2-8 in the next couple of weeks. The Patriot organization have independently said that the Kraft's home run choice to succeed Bill Belichick as the Titans head coach, Mike Vrabel, who used to play for the Patriots, And their home run choice to run their organization would be Texas GM Nick Caserio. So, do you guys think there's any smoke to that, or what?
I
Well,
think. Go ahead, Sturm. I'll let you go first on this one.
I was going to say, I do think that Belichick gets fired. I don't think they'd ever fire him mid-year. I mean, that would be so disrespectful to a guy who won 6 Super Bowls at your organization, right? You can't do that. You got to let him finish the year.
They got to play this year.
Yeah, let him play the year out, and at the end of the year, if they dog shit, then you talk about firing him. I don't see the Vrabel hire because I assume he still has years on his contract, and you can't snipe a head coach from another team. You'd have to provide compensation, which I think is 2 first-round draft picks or something. I just don't think they'd want to give up that kind of capital for Mike Vrabel. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know, but it's only happened a couple of times. I mean, the most famous one is the John Gruden from the Raiders to the Buccaneers, and they gave up a shit ton of draft picks for that. But
I mean, I get Robert Kraft's, dream of wanting to have Vrabel back in the house, but I mean, if you look at how long Mike Vrabel's been with Tennessee, I mean, you kind of know he's a good coach, but you know what you're getting. And Belichick, I mean, yeah, they may fire him. I don't think he's going to retire because he still wants Don Shula's record.
Yeah, but it's going to take 2 years to get there, I think, at least.
He won't sign anything less than a 2-year deal. He'll want another 2 years.
Can he make it there? Because if he keeps going this way, he'll never get there.
I think he knows if he stays with the Patriots, he won't. He'll have to coach like another 6.
You think you're talking about Belichick?
That team's a dumpster fire.
Well, I mean, I would like to see him go somewhere else. It may be a dumpster fire there, but it'd be interesting to see him coach somewhere besides the Patriots. That's for sure.
Kraft too busy at Asian massage parlors getting a handy to research coaches. That was a good one.
So
you're on fire, Jack. Keep him coming.
So when Gruden went to the Buccaneers from the Raiders got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and $8 million in cash from the Buccaneers. Like, are the Patriots really going to pay that for Mike Vrabel?
No.
Maybe, I don't know, but that is a shit ton.
When you have no wide receivers and not a decent quarterback, no.
Yeah. And that's $8 million 20 years ago, and it's going to be like $20 million to pay now,
But I mean, Tannehill's not much better than Mac Jones nowadays.
Will Levis has now been he's the quarterback moving forward for Tennessee.
How did he do? He did good the first week, but how did he do this last week? I didn't watch that game. The Titans.
Well, he did throw a critical interception in the fourth quarter to seal the victory for the Steelers, but he didn't play bad. He was moving the ball down the field.
Yeah, he looked good.
He scored 4 touchdowns in his debut, so.
Yeah, they definitely look good. I mean, he looks like he might be the real deal, so we'll see.
Is DeAndre Hopkins getting any looks from Levy? Because Hopkins has been,
yeah, he got like 2 touchdowns or something. I think was the game before he got like 2 touchdown passes from Levis.
Good.
I think.
And I think that's just coming from Tannehill, the reason why we weren't hearing from him. Because I just don't think Tannehill. I think it's time for Tannehill to go. He's like a backup. He's like Matt
I think that's
Moore,
probably right.
That kind
the thing is, we have enough. We've watched enough of Tannehill and have enough film to know what kind of quarterback he is. He's mediocre at best. He's a game manager. He doesn't bring anything to the table that's going to help you lift a Lombardi trophy. That's just not who he is. It's like Geno Smith. We've read this book. We know what the ending is. It's another.
And the game is evolving and everyone's getting younger. So, that's a big part of it. Like, you can just be halfway good. And if you're young, you're going to smoke circles around someone that's been in for 14 years, So
Will Levis threw 3 touchdowns to DeAndre Hopkins in that first start against the Falcons 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Nice.
So, gentlemen, are we ready to get into our picks? We've got some good ones this week.
Let's do it.
I'm ready.
All right,
10, let's do it.
Week 10, we've got the Carolina Panthers going up against the Bears in Chicago. Chicago is favored by 4. So who won? Who won the last week?
I think it was Bob, wasn't it? Wasn't that still Bob's week? That was week 8.
I don't know, fellas. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah, it was.
Was.
Oh wait, no.
I don't
Hold
know.
on. I think it was. I think it's Bob. Yeah, Bob was the winner.
Oh, I won again?
Yeah.
It's been so long. Okay. Hey, I'm catching up.
I
What was the
So
record?
think you were 13-3.
Holy shit.
So does that mean Bob? How do we do? Does that mean Bob picks first, or he?
Yeah, I go first. That's
Yeah, it
right.
means he's got to pick first.
All right,
Yeah.
Bob. So Carolina at the Bears. What do you like for this one?
So first, before we get into this, I want to tell everyone who's on bye instead of later, because it's a lot of good teams. It's going to be kind of a boring week. It's Chiefs, Rams, Dolphins, and Eagles are all on a bye this week. So there's a lot of kind of boring games. But so anyways,
Doesn't sound boring to me. I don't know. I like it.
Yeah, right.
I don't care about those 4 fucking teams.
Nope, good luck. Good on
fuck
that.
off. So what is it? Bears and Panthers. Oh God. This could go either way, boys. The way I see it, the Panthers have more to win or more to do than the Bears do. Oh fuck. I'll say the Panthers. I don't have any analysts on this because they're both just really bad this year. I'm just going with the Panthers. They're younger. We don't know as much about the Panthers as we do the Bears. We know the Bears suck and they got to make huge changes. The Panthers just might be so young they're figuring shit out. So I'm gonna go with the Panthers.
Let me go next. You on next?
I'll go next. I'm actually gonna go with the Bears. I know the Panthers. I think it was this. Was it this last week that they finally got their first win?
Barely.
Barely. They still have no offense to speak of. I think Chicago is a little more seasoned. It's at home. Yeah, they're 2-7, but if they could possibly scrape a win or two together, maybe something can happen. I doubt it, but I'm definitely going to go with Chicago on this one.
Who coaches Carolina?
Frank Reich.
Yep.
I'm going the Bears too because I think that Bryce Young is a bust. At least he's trending that way. Team is terrible. It was 2 weeks ago. They barely eked one out against the Texans. And Tyson Bagent has played well enough to win last week, but he had 5 fucking turnovers.
That was terrible.
You can't win a game with 5 turnovers.
No.
I think they clean that up a little bit. They're at home too. Short week. I give it the advantage in that scenario to the Bears.
The Bears. So,
as the super fans would say, 86-0 at half. The Bears.
Good. So next we have the Colts at the New England Patriots. Indianapolis is favored by 2. This game will be taking place in Germany.
All right, you ready? You ready for this?
Yeah, let's hear what you got. Give us your insightful analysis, Bob. Let's hear it.
This deep insight on this really meaningful game. This is going to probably send shockwaves throughout the NFL. The Colts. I mean, they're a more complete team. I don't know how complete they are. Who's the quarterback still? Gardner Minshew, right?
Yeah, the mustache.
Yeah, I like him.
The mustache.
I like him. I don't think he's going to go win a Super Bowl or anything, but I like him. Patriots, we know what they are. They have a good defense. It'll be a good game. I just see the Colts kind of playing more smash mouth than the Patriots kind of football. So I'll go Colts.
Yeah, I think Gardner Minshew will play well enough, and as long as the run game for the Colts continues to be productive, and again with the Patriots, we know who's behind center. It's Mac Jones. He's absolutely dreadful. They have no offense. The defense is going to start showing cracks in its armor. It's getting later in the season. They're going to start getting tired. I like the Colts in this one.
Yeah, I agree, Colts. I don't know how it's almost impossible to pick the Patriots in most situations. They're terrible, and the Colts have Jonathan Taylor, the mustache. They're too much. Colts.
So next up, we've got Houston at Cincinnati.
I mean,
Cincy's favored by 7.
this is going to be a surprising good game, guys. I think this is the one I'm kind of probably going to be excited about watching next week. Like, is CJ Stroud consistent enough to show the Bengals up, or are the Bengals just going to be the Bengals and just kick your ass? I don't know, guys. I want to go for the upset. I think if there's going to be an upset this week, this is the one to look at. I'm still going to pick the Bengals just to be safe because I just think the Bengals they're good. And the Bengals are looking just like they have the last 2 years finally. They're looking scary. I'm worried about playing them down the road as far as the Chiefs go. But yeah, I'm going to go Bengals.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to go with the Bengals as well. I know I don't think Chase is playing. I think he got injured, but even if he doesn't play, Joe Burrow's back. He's playing with confidence, poise. He's moving the ball downfield. They're in mid-season form, right where you want them to be. The defense is getting very good pressure through the middle of offensive lines, getting at the quarterback. Their run game is strong. I mean, yeah, the Texans surprisingly are playing well, but it's in Cincinnati. The Bengals are 5-3. They have to keep pace in a very tough AFC North. So yeah, I like Cincinnati. Now I will say, I think a 7-point spread is a little much, but I do like Cincy.
I agree, Cincy. I think the Texans will keep it close, and this could be, as Bone said, one of the best games of the week because I do think C.J. Stroud can do. He's a miracle worker, really, but too much on the line for Cincy in Cincy. I think they'll win the game. I don't think they'll cover the spread, but I do think they'll win the game.
All right, next we have the New Orleans Saints at the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, back to the great story of Joshua Dobbs playing for Minnesota. He's going to get some practices in, get a little more acquainted with the playbook, get to know his teammates. Very interesting game, man. Both teams are 5-4. New Orleans is actually favored by 2.5. Man, Bob, I'm glad you're picking this game first because to me, I feel like this is almost the pick of the week. This is a coin flip. I just don't know.
And Saints just came off a really good win, right? Who did they play last week? I think they came off with they should be feeling pretty good about themselves.
They beat the Bears. Well, they should feel good. They won by 7 after getting 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
So
okay, maybe I'm thinking about somebody else.
Yeah, but they should have won by 20 with 5 turnover differential. But whatever.
Either way, I've been really high on the Vikings. They've had a lot of ups and downs in a short amount of time. If Josh Dobbs wasn't playing, I would maybe go for the Saints. But Josh Dobbs made me a believer. I was kind of had my eye on him when he was with the Cardinals, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Because they were playing some close games. The Cardinals are trash. He was making them close. He was doing great. I thought it was interesting. I like the Vikings. I think they're going to go on a long stretch. We were talking about that a couple weeks ago. They have a real long stretch of easy games, and I think it's going to continue. Vikings win pretty well. I don't think it's going to be too tough for them.
Yeah, with I'm gonna agree with you too, Bob. With Joshua Dobbs behind center, especially again in another game in Minnesota, I believe that town has embraced him with the heroics he had last week. That crowd is going to be ridiculously loud. Vikings are still in this at 5-4, and Joshua Dobbs did that last week without their best receiver. Jefferson wasn't even playing. So you go into this week in Minnesota, that nuts crowd, Joshua Dobbs feeling the love, doing his thing. Yeah, I'm gonna take Minnesota in this contest.
Yeah, I take Minnesota too. I'm not sold on the Saints at all. I think I've said that to you guys weeks before. And the fact that they could only beat the Bears by 7 after getting 5 turnovers at home in New Orleans doesn't say much about that team. I think they're going to lose to the Vikings. And what's their favorite? Oh yeah,
New Orleans favored by 2.5.
Yeah, Minnesota. Yeah, for sure, they're going to win.
Yep. All right, next up we've got the Green Bay Packers at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh is favored by 3. Bob, take it away.
You guys better not make me regret this, but I'm going to go Steelers. They're getting these gritty wins every week. You're telling me their record, and I'm blown away by it every single time. Obviously, they're getting those gritty wins. They're doing what they have to do. They're not the only team that does that. You know, the Chiefs do that shit all the time, and they're still a great team. It doesn't make them a bad team. I understand that you have a lot of concerns, as well as everybody else, but the Packers are even worse. I'm not saying you guys are even bad. Obviously, your record shows you guys are good. Yeah, I mean, it's not a hard decision. Packers might give you guys a couple or might score a couple touchdowns on you guys, but you'll figure your way out. And so yeah, Steelers.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see that this Jordan Love experiment might not be what the Packers had in mind. Under pressure, he plays absolutely horrible. His accuracy is dreadful. I mean, he's missing, running backs wide open in the flat. I mean, he's not playing well. I don't think Matt Canada being on the sideline is really that much of a difference maker, but I think as the season goes on and this Steeler offense continues to try to find its identity and play behind that solid defense, and again, being at home, 5-3, wanting to prove the naysayers wrong and still try to compete in the AFC North, I am actually going to select my Pittsburgh Steelers this week.
Wow, is that it's like the first time in a while you've picked your own team there?
First time in about 4 weeks.
I agree. I think the Steelers have it.
I know, right?
I mean, this is the situation where you have, Steelers defense, which is stout, going up against a very suspect Packers offense, and in Pittsburgh, and I think Jordan Love makes all kinds of mistakes. I don't think the Pittsburgh offense is going to do anything, or very little, but it'll be enough with the defense to beat the Packers. So yeah,
it'll be a low scoring affair.
It'll be something like 17-3. Yeah, that's my guess.
Yeah. All right, we've got the Titans at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the battle of the 3-5 teams. Tampa Bay is favored by 1.5 points. So, Bob, go ahead. Predict this snoozer of a game.
What a barn burner.
Oh, God, you ain't lying.
You know what? If Tannehill was still playing, I'd say the Buccaneers. But I don't know. Levy seems like he's kind of athletic. I don't know. I haven't really watched him, but I keep hearing a lot about him. I see highlights, and he looks pretty good. I think he's going to continue that energy. They just lost last week, so I'm sure they want to bounce back and get to that big 4-5. I don't know, guys. I'll say Titans. I really don't know. Titans.
All right. Well, considering the division that the Bucs are in, and they're 3-5, they're mathematically they're not out of it yet. They could turn this around, scrape some wins together. Again, while I don't have a lot of faith in Baker Mayfield, the defense is pretty solid. He can make some plays when he needs to. Will Levis threw 3 touchdowns the previous week, but he really struggled against that Pittsburgh defense. It is in Tampa Bay. I think Tampa Bay has more to lose. I think if they lose this game, their playoff window potentially could be shut. So I'm actually going to go with Tampa Bay.
Ooh. I'm picking the Titans. I think that Will Levis is the real deal, and I think he's going to have enough for the Titans, especially when you add a revitalized DeAndre Hopkins, Derrick Henry. Todd Bowles is, I think, a little bit on the hot seat, and especially the way they gave up that game last week to Houston. I think that Tennessee is going to win it.
All right. Next up, I'm going to say I think this is probably the game of the week. We got
Definitely
the
one of them.
49ers at the Jacksonville Jaguars. San Fran is favored by 3. It's in Jacksonville. So, Bob, take it away.
This is a hard one, Bob. What do you got? Let's hear it.
I don't know. Does 49ers have any significant injuries?
Everyone is playing, from what I understand. The team is back to full strength.
And don't forget, they lost 3 in a row. They're coming on a 3-game losing streak.
Yeah, that they are.
I want to believe in the Jaguars. I'm rooting for the Jaguars in it, but I just don't see how they win this one. Something just tells me it's a mismatch or something where I don't think the Jaguars have too much of a chance. I don't have any like analysts or stats to prove that. I just feel like 49ers, I don't know what their problem is. I understand they're doing shitty, but also I called this about the 49ers, right? They always do this. They always do really well for a while. They just start choking their ass off and just become shit. I'm going to go with 49ers. That's just what my gut tells me. I'm rooting for the Jags, but I'm picking the 49ers.
All right, so I like what the Jaguars have done. They've they haven't just beaten up on a bunch of scrubs. They did beat Buffalo overseas, so they've got some good wins under their belt. The defense isn't great. It is very opportunistic. It gets turnovers when it needs to, but again, man, this 49ers team coming off 3 losses, they know they've got to get their shit together if they want to compete with the likes of Dallas or Philly and stay up there in the conversation of the best in the NFC. So I think if any team is going to bring Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars a little bit back down to earth, I think it's the Niners. I'm taking the Niners.
Oh, guys, this is the hardest one to pick for me all week, and it's a coin flip. Well, I'm going to pick Jacksonville.
Woo!
I am. Hit the horn.
I got the horn. Here, I got it for you.
Oh, you got it?
Ready? Yeah, it's going right now.
I don't know if it's an upset or not. The problem is the Niners, they have looked vulnerable over these last 3 losses that they've suffered. And they're on the road, and Jacksonville has been hitting its peak. And I think that the difference between being home and remember, San Francisco's West Coast team coming east to play a 1:00 game. Those are traditionally hard games for West Coast teams. And Jacksonville just seems to be firing on all cylinders right now. I give the edge to them, though it's going to be close. I think it'll be real close, and it could really go either way. I think Jackson will pull it out at the end, and then everyone's going to have all kinds of questions about the 49ers if that happens.
And I've been saying this almost every week we talk about them, but ETN, man, I love watching him. He is always getting some positive yardage.
He put a hurting on my Steelers when we played them. Jesus, that was rough.
Yeah, I mean he has 7 touchdowns and only 583 yards, but I mean he's a tough runner, man. And yeah, so.
All right, so we've got the Cleveland Browns at the Baltimore Ravens. Now, big AFC North division game. I find the line to be very interesting. Browns are 5-3, Ravens are 7-2. Baltimore's favored by 6. Now, well, it's not my turn. Bob, go ahead.
Okay, who's playing as quarterback for the Browns?
I don't think it's Deshaun Watson.
What's up with him? Is he hurt? What is he doing? Or is he hanging out with Robert Kraft in the massage parlors?
That's where he wants to be. No, he did play last week. He just had a kind of a lackluster game. It was very much game manager. I don't think he had any touchdowns. He maybe had 150 or 200 yards. And that defense just smothered the Cardinals. So he didn't have to do a lot. But he's healthy and playing. So,
I mean, I'm going to sound the alarm for myself and go with the Browns for no other reason except that I just have a feeling they're going to win. They have the defense for it. I don't think their offense obviously matches up, but I don't know. Maybe their defense does something crazy, makes Lamar fumble, and it turns the tide for some reason.
I don't want to. You already made your pick, but you do know that the Browns lost 28-3 earlier this season to the Ravens.
Oh, really? Well, it's too late. Put it in. Oh, well.
Same. Well, hey, it's
yeah.
who knows? Who knows?
I'm gonna pick the Ravens as well. I'm gonna pick the Ravens, but again, it is a division game. But I do remember the drubbing that the Ravens put on the Browns earlier in the season, and that was in Cleveland. This is in Baltimore, and Baltimore is just looking incredibly efficient. So yeah, I got to take Baltimore in this game.
Yeah, I'm taking Baltimore too for those same reasons. I mean, it's at home in Baltimore. They've already drubbed them once. Now, I don't think Deshaun Watson played in that game, so I think it will be closer. And the Browns' defense is lights out. There's no question about that. But the Ravens, I think they're just too much. I mean, their defense is lights out, and their ground game is insane. And
yes, it is.
They
it really
they
is.
know how to pound you. They're if there's any consistent team this year, whereas we're gonna pound you and you can't stop us, it's the Ravens. I mean, they've got so many big blowout wins. I think they will. I think they'll do it. Well, not blowout, but they'll be enough to beat the.
Gus
Browns.
Edwards is a beast, man. Their running back.
Yeah.
I really like him. But yeah,
we've got the. Go ahead, Bob.
All I was gonna say is it's gonna be a good game. That was it.
All right, so we've got the Atlanta Falcons at the Arizona Cardinals. Atlanta is favored by 1 point.
Well, I think they'll win more than that. I know I asked this about every game now, but who's the quarterback for the Cardinals now that they traded? Dobbs?
No, Murray is expected to be back this week.
Oh yeah, Kyler Murray. But it was Clayton Tune last week, the rookie. Clayton Tune.
I think even with Murray, they don't win. But that's interesting. That's something to keep an eye on and see how he does. What has he been hurt from? Like an ACL tear or something?
Yeah, he hasn't played since last year.
Wow.
ACL.
I don't think him coming back is going to make the difference. He wasn't making a difference even when he was playing. I like him. I had nothing against the guy, but I've heard a lot of bad things about him, like studying the playbooks and everything. He's had plenty of time to study. We'll see if it plays off. But I think the Falcons' record, I think they're better than what their record gives them at 4-5. I think they play hard. They play to win against you. So you're gonna have to bring your A game. I don't think Cardinals their ceiling is even close to what the Falcons can do. So Falcons by more than a point.
Yeah, I've got no faith in the Cardinals. I mean, they have played some teams tough, but the Falcons are looking to win this division. They're 4-5. They're still very well in it. So yeah, I'm going Atlanta.
Yeah, I don't think that the Cardinals have a chance either. I go Atlanta. I think it's not. I don't think Kyler Murray's going to be enough to sway anything. Yeah, I think Atlanta.
He's going to be so rusty. He hasn't played in so long.
Yeah, and there's he has to know. So this could go either way, I guess. I mean, the team is moving on from him, right? They're going to pick a quarterback.
Yeah,
he's done.
So. Yeah,
so that either means that either means in my mind either he's going to try and play hard to show like potential suitors, trade partners, whatever. He's still got some. He can be a good quarterback, or he's just going to be demoralized and he's just going to be out there sucking. So I think it'll be the latter. He's going to suck. We'll see.
I think he's just going to go out there and suck. Is what I think he's going to do.
I think so too.
So we've got Detroit at the Chargers.
Okay, well, I take back everything I said. There's a lot of good games this week.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what you were talking about. Like, I mean, there's a couple of snooze fests here, but there's some decent games. So Lions at the Chargers. Detroit is favored by 2.5. Bob, leave your hate for Detroit at the door.
Do I have to?
And pick a winner.
Well, I hate both these teams with a passion. I think they're kind of similar teams. I just think the Chargers are soft. We've talked about this many times. Fucking Staley's weird, dude. He's a weird guy, and I think that he's someone that they need to move on maybe after the season.
They're horribly coached. They're horribly.
I think they're doing well enough now where there's not necessarily to get rid of him this right now in the mid-season, but he's the reason why they're holding this team back. These Chargers are one of the most talented teams in the NFL, and I used to be scared of playing them all the time. They used to be. I mean, they always have been like second place, right? Chargers are always there competing with Chiefs or whoever's in first place. and they have the potential to be fucking one of the best teams in the league. I really can't put my finger on it, but it's not Herbert. I know that. But with that being said, I think the Lions are just a tougher team. They're a similar team to the Chargers, but they're more complete. They like to play more hard-nosed stuff. Chargers, they're more speed than they are tough right now, and I just think the Lions will put a pretty good beat down on them. So I'm picking Lions.
All right. I think the Lions are coming off a bye week this week. Yes.
Yes,
I believe so. Yeah.
So they're rested. If they've because I think they took a loss just before their bye week.
No,
They got.
Lions beat the Raiders. The Lions beat the Raiders.
Oh, okay, so that's right. So
Monday night
the week before was Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if the Lions want to maintain themselves in the conversation of being one of the best in the NFC, then they need to win this game, and they need to win it convincingly. I mean, a win is a win, but you also in a way want to make a statement. Now it is away. They're 3-1 in away games, which is a very good record. But yeah, I'm going to go with Detroit. I'm surprised the line actually isn't more. It's Detroit's favored by 2.5. I'd actually take Detroit and the points. So yeah, I like Detroit.
I'm surprised Detroit's favored at all, given that it's on the road. But Chargers are coming off a big win, and Chargers aren't a bad team. But I like Detroit for the same reasons. Bones likes Detroit, and that's the Chargers have a horrible head coach. He's going to make some horrible decision using some stupid data analysis that will just make your head spin, and it's going to cost him a game.
Horrible unhealthy level.
I mean, sometimes I can get it. I can get behind it. But sometimes some of the stats they come up with and the logic behind it, it's like football. It might work in baseball when you've got 162 games and like hundreds and hundreds of at bats and hundreds and hundreds of innings pitched. It starts to work itself out.
A sample size to work from, yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about 17 games, and there's not as much of a sample size there. And I think the football being the team sport that it is, it's not just one player. It's how everybody works together. So if it's not working, sometimes you got to go with what the team is doing, not with what the fucking score chart tells you or the stat sheet tells you. You got to just go with it. Can't go with all the analytics all the time.
Yeah,
that's my 2 cents.
All right. So, Bob, this next one, man, this is another potential game of the week. This is a tough one. You ready?
Yeah, let's hear it.
We got the New York Giants at the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas is favored by 16.5.
Whoa, that's got to be one of the biggest spreads in a long time.
I think that might be the biggest spread this season.
Yeah, I think probably.
Holy crap. That's an interesting bet. I'm not going to put too much analytics into it. The Giants just aren't very good. The Cowboys are pretty good. They're better than good. They're not elite. They're in the middle there. There's not much more to say about it, so I'm going to pick the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Cowboys in this game. Again, that's another headline we didn't hit, but Daniel Jones is out with the season. ACL tear.
And so is Tyrod Taylor. He's out too, isn't he?
Tyrod Taylor's out. So
Tommy D.
Yeah, not Danny DeVito from the sub commercials. Tommy DeVito. The Penguin ain't going to be out there throwing the football.
I like how you said not Danny DeVito from the Subway commercials. Like, that's what he's known for. All the things he's done. You know him from the Subway commercials.
Poor Danny DeVito.
No, I know Danny DeVito. Loved him in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
He's great in that.
But, again, this is a big topic that, because my wife is a Giants fan, and she's over the Daniel Jones experiment. She's done with it. She literally wants the team to just eat his contract, trade him, and then dump every game and go for the quarterback crop that's coming in the draft. And I understand that. I sympathize with her, but that's really hard because that's a lot of guaranteed money you're going to be eating. But yeah,
if you draft a new quarterback, it can't get any worse, and you're not really paying that quarterback.
No, it can't, because you're signing a quarterback to a potential rookie deal, which you're going to pay him very little.
Yeah,
But
so.
this is Cowboys. Oh, like to be 100% honest, it would not surprise me if this was a 40 something to 3 game. Like it wouldn't shock me.
Or
So.
Yeah,
or it's a
Cowboys.
trap game.
No.
Not
Who's the backup?
not with Danny DeVito playing.
Who did they sign as a backup? Do you even know who their backup is? I don't even know.
Don't.
It's
I
probably
mean,
their
like,
punter.
just, and think about this, with the way the rules are now with protecting players, if he gets just a crack in the head and then the independent neurologist says, oh, we need to get this guy out, like the Giants don't have any control of that. He might seem fine, he might be fine, but all of a sudden Tommy DeVito is going through neurological tests because of a crack to the head, and they have to put the backup in, which is, I'm looking at their depth chart. They don't even have one listed. I'm on ESPN.com. They have one quarterback on their team right now, Tommy DeVito.
They'd have some wide receiver that may have played some quarterback in college.
Yeah.
Yep. Or like a
and then for the rest of the game, they're just going to run the ball.
And that's exactly what happened to the Vikings this week. Their starter, who was their third string or second string, got hit with a concussion, and he was gone. He was done and all of a sudden, here comes Josh Dobbs, who's never even run a practice rep for the Vikings, and that could happen. We don't even have a Giants backup quarterback, so it's like, how on earth could you possibly pick that team? And Tommy DeVito, it's not like he's a good quarterback. I mean, I don't want to rip on him too much because he's just a rookie and he hasn't had much chance, but for the small sample size, it's been pretty atrocious.
Oh, to say the least. So yeah, I think we all got Dallas and 16.5 points. Okay.
Yeah, they'll cover, I think.
So we've got the Washington Commanders at the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle is favored by 6.5. This is an interesting game considering how the Commanders quarterback has been playing. So, Bob, what do you think?
I think the only thing separating these is that they're at home. The Seahawks are, and they have the second loudest stadium in the entire world, and that makes a difference sometimes. The Seahawks aren't playing shitty; they're doing well. The Commanders are good; they're playing well too. The Howell's doing well. Bieniemy's for it being his first head coaching or co-coaching or whatever the fuck they called it. They're doing really well, but I just think Seahawks at home is kind of dangerous still. It's one of the best home field advantages in the NFL, so I'm going to go Seahawks.
Yeah, regardless of how well Sam Howell's been playing, I do think Seattle rights the ship here to go 6-3. They still have talent. DJ Metcalf is a beast. Their record at home is 3-1, so they're fairly decent. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Seattle. I don't know if I like the points, but I'll go with Seattle.
I think I'm gonna pick an upset on this one, guys. I think I'm going Commanders. I don't. And we didn't talk about this either, but before the trade deadline, they dumped their two best pass rushers, and Chase Young and Montez Sweat, and yet they come out last week, they win the game, and Sam Howell had a good game, and the Seahawks, on the other hand, got their ass kicked, and so there could be a get-right game for the Seahawks, but something tells me maybe the Seahawks have been exposed a little bit, and I think that the Commanders, maybe they take advantage of it. I'm gonna pick the Commanders.
And hold on, we need to talk about that because we've gone for a couple of weeks. Yeah, they dumped Chase Young and to where was it to?
I think the Niners got Chase Young, didn't they?
Yeah.
What's up with
and
that?
the Bears got Montez Sweat. I don't understand it for the life of me. I don't understand why they did it.
And
explain it for us, Logan. Tell us why they did it.
To be 100% honest, that left me, and especially Montez Sweat, that left me scratching my head. I don't know if they feel like they just can't with Sam Howell. They can't compete. And what if they were just going for draft capital? I don't.
But they only got, what would they get? Like a third, or was it a sixth rounder? They got something. They didn't get anything great. Nothing.
It was nothing to really write home about. But I don't know. I like that. A lot that happened at the trade deadline really had me scratching my head.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. I don't know why. I could see maybe say getting rid of one of them, but why get rid of both of them? They're your two best pass rushers. Like you were giving up on the season, but it and it's not the team, it's not the players, it's not the coaching staff, it's the front office. And you're like, how do you go? How does Ron Rivera go from the team? Be like, oh yeah, guys, don't worry, this makes us better. All we got was draft picks, but this makes us better. What the fuck? How do you sell that to your team?
I have no idea, especially your two best pass rushers. And the
Yeah,
Commanders' defense was fairly stingy. I mean,
yeah,
they would play fairly well. So why they did that again? This trade deadline, I remember reading some of the transactions. I'm just going, why? Why
yeah,
did you do that? So,
yeah.
all right, here we go. 8:20 night game. The Jets against the
Raiders.
and the Jets, for some inexplicable reason, are favored by a point and a half.
Are you serious? Are you
Yes, they
kidding me
are.
right now?
No, that's the
Oh
opening
my
line.
God. That's easy money.
Oh, the over/under is even better. 35.5.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I will say the Jets have pulled out some interesting wins. So I really don't know with them. Like even at 4-4, we all assume that they're kind of done or they kind of suck. But they've won some good games with Zach Wilson. They've pulled it off with some elite people. This could go either way. With the win by the Raiders when they've scored 30 points, that's something to take notice. Surely they can't just go from that to just going back to their old ways. The Jets are just kind of doing the same thing every week. We're not seeing anything new or anything, and that's why I think they're starting to kind of fall off because Zach Wilson's play is starting to affect them. It wasn't at first. Also, early on in the year, all teams play strange. They lose weird games at first, and everything fluctuates until everyone evens out a little bit right where we're at. And I said that in the beginning of the year. So I don't think the Jets are as good as they were earlier in the year. No one thought that, but they kept surprising us. Anyways, Raiders had a really good game, and that's the only reason I'm going to pick the Raiders. If they would have lost last week, I would have picked Jets today, but I'm going to go Raiders.
All right. Well, while I don't think any team is going to be lighting up the sideline in this one, um, I will say I think Max Crosby is just salivating at the chance to embarrass this offensive line of the New York Jets. I think the Jets defense is rather also motivated to come back and show that they can be the dominant unit that they think that they are. So honestly, I think this game is going to come down to who screws up first and who screws up more. And I'm going to go with the team whose quarterback doesn't have 4 lost fumbles in the past 2 weeks. So I will be taking the in this game.
yeah, you guys don't need.
Did you
You
say the
don't need to
Raiders?
ask me. It's Raiders.
Did you say Raiders, Logan?
Yes.
Okay. Whenever you did it, it like crackled. Your mic did. I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm taking Raiders too. Obviously, um, this is a game like it's a game they should win. I think. We'll see. We're going to see exactly. If this is sustainable after they played the Giants, and if it is sustainable, it should be against the Jets. I
Yeah.
think that the Raiders have too many weapons on offense, and the Jets have no. Well, they have weapons on offense. They don't have a quarterback, and that's painfully obvious. And I think that will be the difference. As long as the Raiders' offense kind of maintains what it was able to do against the Giant, and I get the Jets' defense is better, but I mean we put together a really good game against the Jets or Giants, and I think we can do something along those lines against the Jets. So I think I think the Raiders are gonna win it.
All right. So the last matchup of the week, our Monday nighter. Another exciting one, folks. The Denver Broncos at the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo is favored by 7.5.
Yeah, I could see the Broncos winning this one. Were they on a bye last week, or did they play?
They're on a bye.
Were they? Okay, so they beat the Chiefs and then went on bye. So I mean, they could be ready to and then be prepared for the Bills, guys. I don't know what you think. I could see another upset happening, but I think the Broncos had a good day and they won their Super Bowl 2 weeks ago. I think that's going to be the best game they have all season. I think the Bills are going to have a fight on their hands. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch, especially on Monday. I'm sick of watching those shitty lineups that they keep having. So it's going to be a good game, despite it being the Broncos. But I think Bills are Bills. Josh Allen. I want to talk about Josh Allen after this, guys, as well. But yeah, I don't think the Bills are that great right now. But I think the Bills will win this one.
Well, when we talk about the Broncos and the Chiefs game, it was a division game. And therefore, I've always lived by the philosophy, watching football as long as I have that, in division games, anything can happen. But in this game, yes, Buffalo has not played to the expectations that we are accustomed to. And it's really night and day with Josh Allen. One day he doesn't seem like he's in rhythm with his offense. It's just not playing the way that we're used to seeing it. But then there's other weeks where they just light up the scoreboard, and the offense is just a nonstop highlight reel. The defense is still incredibly solid. I am shocked that the Bills are 5-4. I'm not gonna lie, it is shocking. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna take the Bills in this contest over the Broncos. It's in Buffalo. I have firsthand knowledge of the rabies shots that the Buffalo Bill fans need whenever they're watching their beloved team play. So I'm definitely taking Buffalo.
They are insane.
Yeah, I want to pick Denver, but I don't think I can. Buffalo is not looking good. We didn't really talk about it, but Buffalo has definitely been inconsistent. They're on the outside looking in. If the playoffs ended, this week, they would be on the outside looking in, and something's wrong with that team. The offense is just not what it used to be, and they're dropping games. I don't think Denver probably has the horses to pull it off. Get it, horses? But a part of me feels like this could be another upset. Buffalo could drop this game, but I'm gonna go with the safe pick. I'm gonna pick Buffalo because it is at home, and Denver's Denver. They gave up 70 to the Dolphins, right? So they've been playing better. They just beat the Chiefs, and anything can happen. But I think overall, Buffalo will probably win this one.
Well, the thing is, I think Buffalo is still feeling the effects of a very offensive-minded coordinator, coach, and Brian Daboll leaving and going to the Giants. And
yeah, I agree.
Buffalo's head coach is a defensive-minded coach. And if you look at the teams that are really successful in the NFL right now, the coaches, have more of an offensive philosophy than they do a defensive philosophy. And I think Josh Allen is regressing. I think he needs another wide receiver. It can't be just Diggs all the time. There's got to be a really reliable number two. And the defense needs to, it is good, but they need to play more consistently.
Well, remember, they lost Matt Milano, and I've noticed a difference. Now that Matt Milano's gone, that defense is missing a huge heart. Like, it's losing, it's heart of the defense is gone. And you can really tell, so. But I agree with the Daboll thing, too, man. Yeah. Ever since he left.
You're right, outside looking in. If Buffalo wants to get back into the conversation, into the playoff picture, they got to get their shit together, and they got to do it now. Because it's not going to get any easier with the records of the teams in the AFC.
And think of what the confidence would bring the Broncos if they beat the Chiefs and the Bills twice in a row and possibly knock Bills out of contention for the playoffs. That would give them a lot of motivation just going forward in the future, and it shows them that they can do it. So,
we all picked Buffalo, so that's not going to happen.
But they made the Chiefs look pretty bad, man. We scored 9 points, and they scored a shitload. So they made us look pretty bad.
Well, imagine if Denver wins, they'll be 4-5, which, that's after the pounding they took early in the season. They lost. They started 0-3 or something. They got blown out by Miami, and they couldn't do anything. And all of a sudden, if they win that game, they're 4-5, and they're at least in the mix. and they got to be, they started. This would be a third. If they beat Buffalo, it'll be 3 straight wins. They started 1-5.
And another thing is, I keep seeing every week that Russell Wilson's stats are better than Mahomes' this year. So Russell Wilson isn't having a bad season. He's not.
You guys put more stock in Russell Wilson than I do. I still think the Broncos are a dumpster fire. I don't think Sean Payton and Russell Wilson are a good fit. I don't think they even see the game the same way. Yeah, they beat the Chiefs. Okay, a dead clock is right twice a day. So I'm not. Again, I'm not. It's a division game. Anything can happen in a division game. I remember years when the Steelers finished, 13-3, yet we lost a game that we should have won against the shitty Cleveland Browns because it's a division game and they know your tendencies. They know how you play because they deal with you twice a year. So I'm not taking any stock, none, in the Broncos beating the Chiefs. 0. It was a fluke chance, 1 in a million. You put a blindfold on, you threw a knife, you just happened to hit the board.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Anything else you guys
So
say?
that is. Yeah.
Well, but we'll see. Well, that's why they play the games. But I picked Buffalo. I think Buffalo's going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if Denver pulled off an upset. Let's just put it that way. I wouldn't be shocked.
I personally would be, and then I will eat my words next week. If Denver comes back and actually wins this game, I will be eating some humble pie next Tuesday. But that is it, folks. Those are our picks for Week 10. Unless anybody has some closing comments and/or thoughts, we will get out of here and wrap up. What's the upcoming action for Week 10?
I don't have nothing to say, man. I just always enjoy doing this with you guys every week, and ready for another week of football.
Yeah, me too. It's always a lot of fun doing the show. So I got nothing else for tonight. Looking forward for some more Raiders football this weekend and football in general, of course.
All right, folks. Well, from Sturmboch, Bones, and myself, OldManLogan 76, thank you for joining us. Be here next week where we will go over how our teams fared, except for Bob, because the Chiefs are on a bye week. Thank God. We don't have to hear about their shit for a week.
I'll have some Taylor Swift news for you guys.
Oh, for Christ's sakes! No one cares. I'm like the dad in Step Brothers. I don't give a fuck. So, no. Please join us next week for all the hot takes, hot news, and our picks for Week 11. Good night, gentlemen. Everyone, thank you for joining us.
See y'all. Peace.
Good night. Good night.